All right, so in this video, we're going to talk about the cleaner role. In the last videos, I was just talking about the point how our salespeople are eventually going to get maxed out, and it's mathematically impossible to follow up with everybody and reach out to these new daily leads every day and actually deal with all the scheduled calls after several weeks of heightened activity in the business. So what do? We want to introduce the cleaner. The cleaner is one of my favorite roles. Let's say we have a new salesperson starting in the organization. Now, does that person deserve to just get on the phone and talk with all the new leads on a day-to-day basis? No. Well, at least they shouldn't. Unless you have a substantial volume of new activity on a day-to-day basis that absolutely has to be handled, we're not going to want to start our people off that way. What we're going to want to do instead is we're going to refer your people to the new role in your business called the cleaner. They have a very simple job. Remember what I mentioned. Math tells us that our salespeople will get maxed out in the first week. They should be fine in the second week. They should be fine in the third week. This is where they crushed the threshold where mathematically they can no longer follow up with everybody from week 1 and week 2. They can no longer really handle any additional leads that actually come in, and they can no longer handle their scheduled calls all at once. Somebody else has to come in and clean up where that person can no longer handle the volume. What does the cleaner role actually do? The cleaner's role is extremely simple. They're going to follow up, and they're going to follow up with as many people as they possibly can. All of your salespeople individually have this very situation happening. So if you have one salesperson, this is happening once. If you have 2, it's happening twice. If you have 3, it's happening 3 times, etc. So many salespeople as you have, you can essentially multiply the volume of leads you get per week. You can essentially take that number and assure yourself. After 4 weeks of activity, let's just say you have 4 salespeople at this point. Okay. All the leads from week 1 are no longer being followed up with in week 4. However many leads you got in week 1, let's just say 100 leads to be super simple. You have 100 leads that came in split between 4 different salespeople. That's 25 leads per salesperson that's no longer being communicated to. 100 leads they're just dead. Okay. Week 2 comes along specifically for the cleaner. And now your closers are operating in week 6. And now you have week 2 leads from the very beginning that are no longer being followed up with. So as you can see, the gap between the closers are getting farther out. The leads that initially started or first came in are just no longer being followed up with. So here comes the cleaner. Again, the cleaner's role is to re-establish communication with the people who are no longer being followed up with. And their job is very simple. They're going to attempt to close these people themselves. The cleaner is typically a closing role. It's typically not a setter. I do want to point out, however, it's okay if you have some setters who are initially being trained in the cleaner role. It's totally fine. However, in an ideal scenario, remember, your main closers no longer have time to actually deal with these leads anyways. So because they're dealing with all the new leads, the new scheduled calls, they have a lot of stuff going on. They're following up with all these fresh leads that they communicated to within the last week, or maybe even the week prior. The cleaner role is ideally a closer because the leads that are not going to be contacted by the first closer, they're basically dead. No one's reaching out to them. So the cleaner comes in, they take ownership of that lead. These are the ones who are going to be responsible for actually working these old leads that are no longer being contacted. Every single one of these leads needs to be contacted because there's money being left on the table if they're not. These leads get left in the dust. You and I both know how much money gets left on the table by that happening. The cleaner comes in, they'll train in this role and they'll get a lot of experience and they will get some deals out of it. They will get a lot better at their job with this. In addition to that, they're going to be doing one of the hardest jobs as a salesperson because they're going to be dealing with slightly more challenging leads where they have to actually re-establish communication with these people. You know, in my agency, all we've done literally for the last few years has been outbound sales. We literally don't rely on inbound deal flow. We reach out to people who have no idea who we are. We establish communication with them and then we sell them on a $10K a month deal plus rev shares. The cleaner role closes leads that have directly expressed interest in your business and filled out lead forms very easily. They still count as inbound leads. They're just a little colder. No reason this person can't make a lot of money in doing what they do. And once again, they really get good at this over time. You can promote them into a full-time setter, or you can even promote them into a full-time closer in your business. And you can bring in another rep to fill the cleaner role. Cleaner role is one of my favorite positions as it makes the business a ton of money, and it's one of the most underutilized roles in the sales organization. Get a cleaner in your business right away, and there's a lot more money to be made on the table.